So if you've already mastered pearl knotting and you're ready for something a little bit different in your design, you've just been doing the standard knotting that I showed you in Pearl Knotting 101, here is something else you can try. This is the next step, which is where you can add some space between the beads and just have the silk cord showing. For the necklace I'm making today, here's the list of supplies that I'm using. Number 6 light brown silk, 6 10mm round tiger eye beads, 12 5mm round citrine beads, 7 4x5 to 4x10 rectangle tiger eye beads, and then the regular supplies that you need for your pearl knotting: tweezers, pliers, scissors, glue, a toggle, and bead tips. I'm actually using copper bead tips today. I was excited when I found those, and I've been dying to make a design that has more of the copper highlights instead of the silver, so that's what I'm doing today. Let's get started. I went ahead and I already prepped my strand. I laid out my design in advance and went ahead and strung it up on my thread, so I'm ready to go. You'll see it's not that many beads because I'm going to be adding a lot of space. It doesn't look like it's going to be enough to make a whole necklace, but this is plenty for the length that I'm going to be making. So you start it like you would any other kind of pearl necklace. You make the knot at the end, a little fingernail polish to seal that off, close your bead tip around that knot, and ready to start going. First knot, always I like to put one right next to the bead tip. And I'm pulling my first bead down against the bead tip, which is one of my rectangle beads. And here's where the space comes in. I'm going to leave a space between this and the next bead that I'm going to put. And to do that, I know some people have different recommendations for how you can measure this out, using a ruler, using marks on a piece of paper, using straw, but I like to use just different measurement marks on my body because I don't want to have to travel with little things or little pieces of things. I like to use this as a traveling craft when I'm on an airplane or something. It's really convenient to just get a few of these prepped and wrap them up. Just take the tweezers and you can do all the knotting while you're sitting there in the airport or on a plane, so it's easy to not need a lot of extra supplies. To measure out the space I'm going to be using, I'm just going to use the width of my fingernail on my thumb. So you pull the knot so that it's at one end of your fingernail, and then you lay the thread across your fingernail and you pretend as if there had been a bead there and position your tweezers so you can make that knot right at the other end of your fingernail. So then when you pull your next bead in your design down, it gets stopped by that knot and it leaves that thread hanging. Now I am going to, for this design, I'm going to actually be positioning 3 beads before I put the next space. So you have the option of, you can either push all 3 beads down and then do the same thing, leaving the space measured out for your fingernail, or you can put a knot in between each of the 3 beads. I'm going to just go ahead and put a knot in between each of the 3 beads, but that's up to you, whatever you think looks best. So there I've got my 3 beads and the space, and I'm ready for my next space. So once again, pretend that you put a bead on, pull it through and get ready. Measure against whatever you're using as your measurement. I like to use my fingernail or the length of my knuckle, or I also have a lot of freckles, so freckles can be another good standard measurement on your body. The point is that you want something that is going to be consistent from time to time so that your pattern looks more uniform, so that it's not just a random different sized spaces between each design. So fingernail width works really well, because even if you cut your fingernails, the width of your fingernail is not going to change, just the length changes. Add my next bead, and this is another one of the rectangle beads, so I'm adding that one just by itself, and ready for another space. You're going to spend the most time deciding what design you actually want to be making. And once you've got that down, it goes very fast. So I'm almost at the end, just a couple more to go. This will be my last space. And finish it off like you normally would. Put your last bead in place, make a knot at the end. Push your bead cap into position and make a knot that will be on the inside of your bead tip. Then I'll add a little nail polish to that last knot. And close my bead tip around it. Then I can cut off the extra little bits of thread that are sticking out of my bead tips and attach my toggle. And I'll go back to the other end and trim that end off. And all done. So there it is. Fast, easy. Hardest part, deciding exactly what design to make. And as I always do when I finish a new necklace or new design, try it on and see how it looks.